Let's talk about the last five opponents shared between pretty much put it like this. Let's talk about the last five welterweight opponents for Terence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. The reason I'm making this is, there's a lot of back and forth when it comes to resumes. Who has the better resume overall, and then who has the better resume in the welterweight division? And I believe I made a video about overall, in my opinion, who had the better resume. And then when you look at it overall, I believe I had said it levels out between both of them overall. But here I want to break down the last five opponents. I have to do it by the last five because Errol Spence has been in the welterweight division longer than Terence Crawford. So Terence Crawford has only had 5 fights so far in the welterweight division. So we're gonna have to go by the last 5 welterweight fights, even though Errol Spence has had more than 5 welterweight fights. We're gonna start at the last 5 between each of them and go. We're gonna start from their first. We're gonna start from Terence Crawford's first welterweight fight up to his latest, and his first. We're gonna line that up with Errol Spence's last 5, and we're gonna start from the first one. And let's talk about Errol Spence for a minute now. In regards to his last 5 welterweight fights, the first one would be Lamont Peterson. When he fought Lamont Peterson, man, Lamont Peterson was record was 35 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. So we're gonna talk about each of these 5 welterweights that Errol Spence has fought, and we're gonna go into their resumes and see how many notable names or even decent fighters. So we're gonna combine the decent fighters and the big name fighters as well. Okay, so what I came up with Lamont Peterson was David Avenesian, Felix Diaz, Denny Garcia, Edgar Santana, Thierry Jean, Lucas Matisse, and Amir Khan. And also we got Victor Ortiz, Timothy Bradley, Victor Cayo, and Antonio Mosqueda. That was pretty much like all I have for Lamont Peterson. So some of those names are big names and some are just good fighters. So I managed to come up with 11 people of notoriety on his record for Lamont Peterson. So we got Lamont Peterson at 11 fighters. I mean, everybody gonna have different opinions on that, but I give it 11 for Lamont Peterson. So next up, after Lamont Peterson, Errol Spence fought Carlos Ocampo, which was his IBF mandatory. And Carlos Ocampo's record at the time was 22 wins and no losses. And I believe 1 draw. No, 22 wins, no losses. Sorry. And as far as Carlos Ocampo's record, man, there is really nobody of any notoriety on his record. No big names, really. And, I mean, you can say halfway decent fighters, but not even, So I would give maybe one. I would say maybe Charlie Navarro, maybe, but the best person that Carlos Ocampo has fought is Errol Spence Jr. as far as I'm concerned. So I'll give Carlos Ocampo definitely Errol Spence, and then maybe one other one. So maybe 1 or 2, give or take. Next up, we got, after he fought Carlos Ocampo, he fought Mikey Garcia, which is a big name within itself. So let's look through Mikey Garcia's resume and see how many notable names and good fighters as well. So he has Jesse Vargas, Robert Easter Jr., Sergey Lipinets, Adrian Bruner, Roman Martinez, Juan Lopez, you can say Matt Remillard, Orlando Salido, Johnny Barros, Rafael Guzman. Also, we got Adrian Granados, Zab Judah, Eric. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going into the other Garcia. My bad. So those are the 10. Johnny Barros, Salido, Remillard, Rafael Guzman, Juan Lopez, Roman Martinez, Adrian Broner, Sergio Lipinez, Robert Easter Jr., and Jesse Vargas. So at the time of their fight, Mike Garcia was at 39 wins and no losses. So I'll give Mike Garcia maybe 10 names on his resume. About 10. As far as that's like I said, you might put more names on it, but I look at some of these fighters. I've seen a lot of Mikey Garcia's fights. I haven't watched all of them because I can't find them all, but the names that I know, these are the top 10. These are the 10 best names on his resume, biggest names and good fighters. All right, so we got Mike Garcia at 10. After he fought Mikey Garcia, he fought Sean Porter. And Sean Porter, at the time of their fight, he was at 30 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. So let's look at some names on Sean Porter's record. We got Sebastian Formella, Yordenis Ugas, Denny Garcia, Adrian Granados, Andre Berto, Keith Thurman, Adrian Broner, Phil Greco, which was a decent fighter, but I put him up there. Decent fight, I guess. Kell Brook, Paulie Malignaggi, Devin Alexander, and Ray Robinson. So I give Sean Porter 12 names of notoriety or good fighters on his record. So Sean Porter, I put him at 12. Next, after he fought Sean Porter, was obviously Denny Garcia. And Denny Garcia, out of Errol Spence's last 5 welterweights, Denny Garcia has the best resume out of all of these dudes. So let's run through Denny Garcia's resume. At the time of their fight, Denny Garcia was at 36 wins, 2 losses, and no draws. His resume include Adrian Granados, Zab Judah, Sean Porter, Keith Thurman, Kendall Holt, Amir Khan, Eric Morales, Samuel Vargas, Robert Guerrero, Paulie Malignaggi, Lamont Peterson, Mauricio Herrera, Lucas Matisse, Brandon Rios, Ashley Theophane, Nate Campbell. All right, so we got Denny Garcia with 16 names of any notoriety on his record. 16 names of good, big name fighters, champions, and good fighters. So as it stands, I rounded off the total to all of these fighters that Errol Spence has fought, the last 5 fighters in the welterweight division. If you want to look at it from my point of view, they all got 50 names to 51 names in between them. Okay, so Denny Garcia is the fighter with the best resume so far that Errol Spence has fought and thus far. So now let's go over to Terence Crawford now. He's been in the division only since 2018. So he hasn't been in there as long as Errol Spence. So he only had 5 fights in the welterweight division. So we're going to look at those 5 fights. And we're going to start with Jeff Horn. So Jeff Horn, at the time of their fight, was 18-0 with 1 draw. So let's look through Jeff Horn's resume and see any names of notoriety or decent, good fighters. Okay, so in my point of view, we got Tim Tszyu, Michael Zarafa, Anthony Mundane, Gary Corcoran. That was okay. That was a good fight. Manny Pacquiao, definitely. Randall Bailey, Ahmad Masowi. Can't pronounce that name for shit. So Jeff Horn doesn't really have a stout resume as well. He has maybe 7. I give him 7 names of any notoriety. Only real champions he's fought is Terence Crawford, and real great champions, Crawford and Pacquiao, really. So I give Jeff Horn 7 names of any notoriety on his record. Next, he fought Jose Benavidez Jr., the older brother of David Benavidez. When they fought, Jose Benavidez was at 27 wins, no losses. And let's go through his record. All I can find for Jose Benavidez, man, to be honest, is Mauricio Herrera, Jorge Paez, and Frank Rojas, man. He has no real names on his resume at all. So I was only able to really scrape up 3 names off of Jose Benavidez's record of any notoriety as far as I see it. Okay, so we have 3 for Jose Benavidez. So starting from one, we got Jeff. Well, I'll get back to that in a minute, but let's keep going. Next up was Amir Khan on Crawford's resume. Amir Khan at the time of their fight was at 33 wins and 4 losses. Amir Khan has the best resume out of all the 5 welterweights that Terence Crawford has faced. Amir Khan's resume in my opinion, is even better than Denny Garcia's. As far as like the names, look back at Amir Khan's record, bro. You know, a lot of his early fights, you didn't see people with lopsided records. You saw a few, but you didn't see many. Look at his record. Go back and check it out. So Amir Khan's names of notoriety is Billy Dibb, Samuel Vargas, Marco Barrera, Phil Greco, Devin Alexander, Salida, Luis Collazo, Julio Diaz, Canelo Alvarez, Chris Algieri, Carlos Molina, Danny Garcia, Paulie Malignaggi, Paul McCloskey, Zab Judah, Lamont Peterson. And Bradis Prescott, St. Clair, Michael Gomez. So I gave Amir Khan 19 names, bro, on his record as far as decent to great fighters and like champions and, you know, elite level fighters. So Amir Khan is at 19. Next up, he's Terence Crawford's fought Mean Machine, Elias Velasquez, which was a fight that many people believe Terence Crawford got his first knockdown in his career. Very debatable. So Velasquez, or Mean Machine, he all I could find on his record, bro, maybe 4 people, man. Ray Robinson, Zuski, Carlos Abreu, and David Avanesian, man. That's all that's really on Mean Machine's resume. It's about 4 people. I give it 4. That's just my personal opinion, or how I gauge these fighters as far as I can see them. So that's 4 fighters on Mean Machine's record. After he fought Mean Machine, he fought Kell Brook, his latest fight in the welterweight division. Kell Brook, if you look back at his resume isn't even really all that stout either, you know. But I give Kell Brook, let's go through his resume. When they fought, Kell Brook was at 39 wins and 2 losses. So let's look through Kell Brook's resume, man. I know Kell Brook's a good fighter, but a lot of people, if you look back on his resume, there's not that many names on his either. Most of his like fighters, like, you know, he fought a lot of people from his country, pretty decent, but nobody that was really high caliber like that. Not that many of them. So we got Michael Zarafa, Matthew Hatton, Errol Spence, obviously, Triple G, Lovemore Indu, Sean Porter, and Hector Saldivia. I can't find anybody else with any notoriety. Might be some more that other people might look at it different, but this is how I'm looking at it. So Kell Brook, man, give or take 7 or 8 wins, 7 or 8 names on his record, bro. All right, so that's pretty much rounds off all these fights, the 10 fights from these 2 guys here, Crawford and Spence. So line for line, we got Jeff Horn and Lamont Peterson. You got to give that to Lamont Peterson. He has a better resume than Jeff Horn. Jose Benavidez, Carlos Ocampo. You got to give Jose Benavidez the nod. He has a better resume than Carlos Ocampo, in my opinion. Slightly better, not much. Maybe by like 1 fighter. Then you got Amir Khan and Mikey Garcia. Hands down, Amir Khan's resume is better than Mikey Garcia's. Just look at it, check it out yourself. As far as, like I said, it's subjective, man. You might look at it different, but this is how I see it. Amir Khan over Mikey Garcia. Then you got Mean Machine and Sean Porter. Definitely, Sean Porter blows Mean Machine out the water with the resume, no questions. And then you got Kell Brook and Danny Garcia. You definitely know who's the better fighter there, and that is Danny Garcia as far as the resume. You see, I had, you know, you could look at it different, man. At first, you know, I was looking at it like, Well, Kell Brook's a better fighter. Like as far as you could look at it, if you're looking at it from that point of view, I would say Kell Brook is a better fighter than Denny Garcia. He has more tools in his shed. But when you look at the resumes, Denny Garcia's resume is much better than Kell Brook's. So I round off Errol Spence's his 5 welterweight, the 5 fighters he fought all together. I give them maybe 50 to 51 names on their records all together combined. So you look at Terence Crawford's fights, the people he fought, take their resumes and you combine the notorieties, the names, you only come up with 40 to 41. Just my opinion. So truth is, in the welterweight division, Errol Spence Jr. does have the better resume. He does, as far as the caliber of fighters. I mean, the level of competition is better for Errol Spence. It's not by much, but it's by a whole 10 fights. You know, a whole 10 fighters, man. In between these two. So, like I said, let's do a quick summary again. So we got, as far as their first fight, as far as Crawford's first fight to Errol Spence's last 5 back, we got Lamont Peterson, Jeff Horn. I got Lamont Peterson over Horn. I got Jose Benavidez over Carlos Ocampo. I got Amir over Mikey Garcia. Got Sean Porter over Mean Machine, and I got Denny Garcia over Kell Brook. So Errol Spence competition is slightly better than Terence Crawford's at this current point in their careers. So let me know what you think, man. You know, I brought this up because there's been a lot of the 60-40 talk and all that stuff. Does Terence Crawford deserve 50-50? If we're talking in terms of a resume, I don't like talking about money, man. I hate even bringing that shit up. But they're the ones that started this 60-40 bullshit. They started it. That's still up for debate, bro. You could look at it many different ways. You can incorporate his entire career. You can not incorporate that. You can just incorporate his welterweight career. However you want to look at it. But right here, as it says, Errol Spence has fought the better competition, because his competition has fought better competition than what Terence Crawford's competition has fought. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment, like, and subscribe, man. I'll catch y'all on the next one, man. Peace.